Well, good afternoon to you, and as you saw, welcome to semi-final day in the SANFL to a very, very windswept football park. Well, the first semi-final, we'll show you the highlights of that in just a moment, and the second semi-final between Port Adelaide and Central District is unfolding before me now, or behind me, and the score line so far, Central District kicking with that gale, 1-6. Port Adelaide, not surprisingly against the breeze, yet to score. Well, it's been a fairly huge week in football. Phil Carman was reappointed at Sturt, and that's great news for a third year. So some continuity finally at Unley. The other big news during the week was that we had the McGarry medal count on Tuesday night, and it was a runaway win by a young 22-year-old by the name of Josh Franco from North Adelaide.
And I have much pleasure in declaring Josh Franco of North Adelaide the 1996 McGarry medalist. And I'm sure that you'll all agree that he's a fine exponent of the game and a worthy winner of this very prestigious award. Congratulations, Josh.
Josh, standing by the tree at McGarry Medal Grove, it must be a great honour being our newest McGarry medalist.
Yeah, sure, it's a very big honour. And have all the other past McGarry medal winners, it's great.
It's been a wonderful year for you. You've taken out the Foss Williams medalist for the best player in the state game against WA. Yeah. Your state selection, obviously a highlight.
Yeah, sure, that was the biggest thrill up until now, I suppose. And I guess I was a bit lucky with Tim Noonan, and I think it was Fabian Francis that pulled out through injury. And I was lucky to start in the centre, and I played well, which was really great thrill.
Well, tell us about your future. Where do you see it lying? Which club and which direction?
Well, obviously I'd love to play in the AFL. At this stage, I'm just taking it easy. Obviously, staying in Adelaide would be the ideal situation, but if something else came up, I'd definitely have to go for it.
Do you have a preference between Port and the Crows?
Yeah, I think Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide at this stage.
Now, tell us, we haven't heard much about what your dad and your mum thought, Anne and Maury.
Anne and Maury, yeah, they were pretty rapt. They came to the club after the count.
Were they watching it at home?
Yeah, they were actually, and I don't think they could believe it. The phone was non-stop, and yeah, they were really happy. And
have you had much sleep between the event and now?
No, the night I didn't. Had a bit of a sleep Wednesday night and went out with a few of the young guys last night. But no, I haven't had much sleep. Got to catch up on a bit.
And just finally, has it struck home that you've joined a wonderful list of past champions, great players?
Oh, no, it's almost embarrassing if people start comparing you to the likes of Robin and Ebert. But no, it hasn't hit me at all yet. I don't think it will for the next 10 years.
Well, Josh Franco, it was a magnificent performance with a famous number 10 jumper on his back at North Adelaide, worn by three-time McGarry medalist Barry Robran. Josh Franco was a runaway winner by 11 votes. 7 times he was the best on ground, and he was a runaway winner. Fabian Francis was the runner-up. Well, Norwood finished second in the home and away series, and the Eagles finished fourth. It was always going to be a close game. Port Adelaide did a number on Norwood last week. The Eagles were big winners over West Adelaide, so the first semi-final was always going to be close. Remember that we have a second half live of the Port Central game, but for the time being, we pick up the game in the first semi-final at about the 6-minute mark, a little over the 6-minute mark of the third term.
The Eagles need to use it. Spear got it from Hall at fullback. A long ball towards Bailey, punched forward by Smart. Loose ball falls. Giorgio, Jarman flanks him, looks for a handball, decides to kick it. Spear takes front position, but well done Miller. Just keeps it in the area by thumping it towards the line, and they'll reset up the Redlegs. What an absorbing battle this is. The big man at centre-half forward. It's not pretty football, Mark. I mean, if you came in today expecting hard-running football and hard-hitting, you'd be disappointed. But it hasn't been easy to pick up a kick as Smart tries to crash through the weed, claims him, holds him in the air, and another bounce.
Look, it's just the stats for the game so far. The kicks Norwood really are dominating there, at least by 19.
Hit-outs,
Major one was the hit-outs. I mean, Norwood are on top of the hit-outs.
Now Norwood to the head of the square, or at least that was the intention. It's gone across the line. It must have been touched because it's going to be a boundary throw. And there's Reid on screen. Not much from him so far. 4 kicks, 3 handballs. Kicked 1 goal. Can burst into the scene though and kick goals at important times. Bailey, the reflex was okay, to Pays, and Pays gets onto a torpedo punt kick that with the bounce probably travelled about 80 metres across the line on the far side. 5-4 the Redlegs, the Eagles are 2-3.
Jerry Tantoshia. Tantoshia, 29 years old, his 150th game today. He really has been a tough, nuggety red leg player for quite a number of seasons.
Former best and fairest winner, David Neiman for the Eagles playing his 150th today. So there's two players enjoying career highlights today, but only one side will come away from this match.
Wiedemann and Stephen Rowe having a bit of a joke there, former Crow teammates.
I don't know that there's so much joking. There'd be a bit of sniding going on out there about now. They might have a joke after the match, but it's deadly serious for the moment out there as Keating flicks it out. Jarman off the ground. The Weed keeps his head down over the top of the ball, holds his ground pretty well. Macca closes. That's a great contest. Neiman crashes through, handballs off to Pesh, needs support, doesn't get it. Ugrinik was flanking him. Jarman went after it and holds it in the area. Now he pulled it in and didn't get it out, but in fairness there were two players coming at him and he couldn't. So Johnston Schmidt, the umpire, will bounce. What about Jars, Nails? What do you think of his form today?
Very difficult for Andrew Jarman. He hasn't had that many possessions. Kicked the one goal in the opening minutes or seconds of that second quarter, but really hasn't done enough. If he happens to find the ball, just watch out, Eagles. At the moment, we're just looking at Kluzak sitting at full forward in the square. Another player has dropped back on him, but you really just have to create some space within that 50-metre half circle and let Kluzak lead out to the ball, give him a chance to take it out in front.
Norwood certainly the favourites in this game. They went at 4-10 with the bookies. The Eagles were 18-10, and at the moment the bookies might be on a winner.
Well, they were 1-1 throughout the year, but the Eagles won in the mud at Woodville Oval, didn't they? And you'd suggest that the heavy mud at Woodville wouldn't have suited the Norwood runners.
Wiedemann, the run provided by Spear. He tracks across half-back. Clements attacked the ball with a fervour. It was OK, but McClure was equal to the task as well. Paddles it out. Smart is there. Across the top goes Harvey. Only as far as the weed, though. And the lad from Fish Creek hands it out. The dispatch was OK. Now the kick forward travels another 60 metres. I tell you what, you get behind it, and that cyclone will allow you to carry the ball a long way forward, as this one does, albeit indirect and out of bounds.
Nathan Bass is not happy with the umpires. Matthew Kluzak unmoved. Nathan thought he got a big push. Only a 19-year-old. 10 kicks and a handball. He's been playing pretty well. His first quarter was outstanding. Went into half-time as the leading kick-getter for the Redlegs with 10. Daniels, who's done a wonderful job on David Neiman. Would you put him amongst your best for a nullifying role, Nails?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's still too early. I mean, the game, no one really has stood out and played well at this moment. They've just been having patches of 5 or 10 minute bursts into the game, but no one really has taken this game by the scruff of the neck and said, well, I want to win this game off my own boot. There isn't a match winner out there at the moment.
The Eagles are allowing time to elapse too quickly. 10 minutes, 11 minutes gone, and they need some goals quickly. Filippo couldn't take it. It's been fairly quiet, Michael. Norwood work it out. Davey. Clements is in there as well. They paddle it back. Zilla. Now Wiedemann. Can you do something quick and productive? He does. Look at that for some power in the leg. And Wiedemann gets his first. Maybe that will kickstart them. They get their third, the Eagles. 5-4 Norwood. The Eagles are 3-3.
Good work by the Eagles forward line players there. They just bottled the ball up in the area, try to keep it alive. You can just see here, Zilla saw Wiedemann behind. Wiedemann knew which way he had to go. Turn on his left leg, just put it in the air, let the breeze do the air, and again we see the ball go through the centre of the goals. But Wiedemann, he's worked hard, worked tirelessly after him. There's not pretty football by Wiedemann, but he really has been a good contributor.
5-4 to 3-3. The margin closes back to 13 points. It was 18 points at halftime. Giorgio handballs out the back door. Kelly, who was a goal kicker in the second term, goes to the boundary line. We talk about the Weed and we talk about McIntosh and the role they're having on each other. The Weed's 10 kicks, 7 handballs. Macca is 6-5. So the Weed perhaps statistically on top. As the ball comes back into play, Smart, who's really hasn't had a lot to do in the first half of this match. Keating did all the ruck work. Now Smart gets his run at it. And a pack develops. Well, congestion is the order of the day. The Redlegs will be happy with this.
I'm just not seeing too many players at the moment really work to their full potential. They're just not working hard enough. They're covering some ground. At the moment, players really are just seem to be just going through the motions. And just sort of waiting for the last quarter, and that's when they might possibly get desperate.
Jarman's handball after a good mark was to Davey. Davey, left half forward, spoiled away by Spear across the line. Sam Smart, competitive at half forward. If we get an opportunity, just watch how the two teams set up here. Norwood players all facing their goals on what's called the check side. Eagles players similarly on Doug Bailey's right side, facing their goal. And this time the Eagles win it. Rogers gets on the end of it after the reflex. It goes across half forward. Philippou. Out the back it goes. Daniels first there. Watch for the line. But just over kicks it again. Well, we have seen it over and over and over. All he needed to do was, as Andrew Rogers did in the second term, is dribble it along the ground, but too much power across the line on the full. But the Eagles just not able to take advantage of it.
Might throw down to Ken Sheldon. Ken, what's it feeling like down on the boundary line?
Well, it's very frustrating from the Eagles' point of view. They're using the ball too often over to the defensive side of the ground. You can see Neiman with the football now. He needs to bring it across into the middle and then set up with that goal, as we've seen earlier, from Wiedemann. They can kick goals from a long distance. All they need to do is to try to control the football rather than trying to kick the skin off the footy.
So you're suggesting that from either wing they bring it back into the corridor and come straight down the middle?
Exactly. The wind is to the advantage from the members' side here. As this opportunity, you'll see it swing back.
And
magnificent goal from Rogers.
Thanks, Ken. Rogers steals it away and gets one. They're edging back, the Eagles. They're 14 and a half minutes in to the third quarter, and they now trail by only 7 points.
Again, we see a mistake made by the Norwood player. Just didn't find Giorgio. Rogers realised that the player had gone to ground, steadied himself, went towards, and just positioning the ball in the right spot to allow the breeze to do the work. You just see him there, just guiding. Didn't kick through the goal, but he knew from the time that the ball released from his boot that it was going to go through the goals.
So the Eagles learn. 15 minutes have gone. They get within 7 points. Fair to say, though, Ken Sheldon, that they need to get 4 or 5 more goals.
Exactly. They need to bring the ball out this side of the ground. That's what Coach Bruce Winter is instructing from his players.
Yes, we keep seeing that the defensive side is the far side, and it's not surprising that Bruce would be wanting to attack down this grandstand side. But so often we've seen it on that far flank, haven't we? Bailey. Giorgio. Pretty tough in the clinches in there. Here's Rogers again. The cream comes to the surface, doesn't it, when you need it? Dickey. Within about 40 metres of goals. Best spot, but a good spoil put on by Hall. To Rowe. Pretty tough dig out there for McClure, it looked like, because he was 3-on-1 out there. Rowe, too high. No, play on. Finally, what's happened there? The umpire was gesturing as though it was a push in the back. No, a bounce down.
They had the numbers then around the football. All they had to do was get it and keep it alive, but they couldn't. Good work done by the Eagles player. 15
handballs to Rowe, by the way. Higgins just inside the line, shoots it back. Pesh, a high bomb through the midfield. Bowman couldn't gather it in. Now Ugrinik, watch him go with his pace. Let's see how fit he is. Flicks it away to Zilla. In turn, the support comes from Christensen. He's 55 out and closing. He goes for goal. He's got it. The Eagles are back in the game. We're 16 minutes into the third term. And that's a great running goal for the Eagles.
Good work done by the Eagles. That puts them just 1 point behind now at about the 16.5-minute mark of the third quarter. But good work. They used the ball. They kept control of it. Ugrinik, what blistering pace. You just see there, Marty Christensen, again, steered it through the middle of the goals. A good quarter so far by the Eagles. They're back in business.
Well, the Eagles worked their way into this game with a 65-point thumping of West Adelaide last week. And they did it emphatically in the last quarter. That yielded 11 goals, and they're on the march now. Davey. Norwood would be having a few nightmares at the moment. The alarm bells will be ringing because this time last week, Port Adelaide took control of the game as well. Dillon's at half-back and just quietens it down. Dickey, by the way, 10 and 5 for him. 10 kicks, 5 handballs. An influential player, Christensen, just his second kick. He is working his way into the game. Right up towards full forward. Off hands, David Neiman winds it up little by little, but Dan Tokia had the leg speed.
Oh, Nails,
he was like a steam train. He was trying to get into gear then. He just couldn't get the legs moving, the big fella and David Neiman. We just saw then Christensen had time to look forward. He had 2 players in the lead, but it was Neiman, and also he had back there Morphin on the lead. He should have hit one of them on the chest.
Scores are locked away. It's important. 17:46 into the third term. That's the first rush behind that the Norwood defence have conceded. Daniel swings it grandstand side. Harvey running hard. Feeds it off to Dan Tocky. He's everywhere, this guy. To Cunningham. He's in trouble, in big trouble. 2 on 1. Dead.
They've lifted, haven't they?
You just see Cunningham Thought he might be able to take on one. But didn't expect the little fella and Zilla to be on the end of it also.
So Zilla looks for Neiman. One step, Keating high over the top. Davey couldn't get there. Morford tries to give it away. He was correct. Oh, that's too high. That's a sleeper hold. No doubt that's a free kick. Kelly will come up with the free. 2 on 1, but the tackle was crude from Kluzek. Right around the esophagus.
Richard Kelly's going to take it. 10 kicks, 4 handballs for Kelly. They've got a couple of forwards, the Eagles, that need to get into action down there. Kluzek is one, Morford's another. Just 1 kick for Scotty Morford so far. I can't remember seeing a lot of him with the handballs either, just 3 or 4 of those. Forward it goes from Cunningham, and the line is offered by Jason Miller. 19 minutes gone, scores are tied away.
I suppose that's true of Kluzek too. 5 kicks, 3 handballs for Kluzek, and as yet he hasn't got a goal.
Bailey, Clements, and the bells of St Clements will be starting to ring now because they're just starting to lift the Eagles, but I reckon they probably need 3 or 4 more to lead into this last quarter.
Good call, Steve. They have to be at least 18 points up. At least 18 points up when the third quarter siren sounds.
Out the back to Spear. Now there's some space. Can somebody do something? Just get hold of the ball and share it. Pays, had a runner, couldn't quite get the handball to it, elected on the leg. It probably was the wrong option. Dickey. Now some space for Zilla. Well, watch little Sizzler go. He's 2 on 1 though. Tough gig across the line.
Didn't have the leg speed there.
Sizzler.
Jason
I thought that was
Sizzler.
Steven Zilla.
We'll call him Sizzler.
This is Godzilla.
Oh, I didn't know there was a difference. I just thought they both sizzled the park.
They do. It's a fair call.
Another bounce down as somebody's losing their jumper in amongst all that.
A lot of heads down, tails up in that instance there.
That's right. He lost his pants as well, by the way.
So the Eagles with their work cut out going against what is a very strong wind in the last term. We'll go back to that in just a moment. I'll remind you though in the meantime, as the wind plays havoc with all of us up here, that the Port Adelaide and Central game will be coming to you at around about 4:50 tonight, live in the second half, so look forward to that this afternoon. Quarter time, the margin here was 25 points. Now it's back into 17 points, so Port Adelaide have the breeze and they need to use it, let me tell you, because it is a monster. Well, all the action at Football Park throughout the afternoon. The second semi, as I said, at 4:50 we'll pick up the game live. Hope you can stay with us. It's with our congratulations that Heath Deboo of South Adelaide won the under-17 McCullum medal, and to present that medal, Greg Whittlesey, the 88 medalist.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Jeff Bevan, the coach, and a few of the players. Just hopefully we can go further and celebrate St Kilda further at the end of the year.
The Tompkins medal was won by Dwayne Povey of Norwood, and the Tompkins medal will be presented by Jeff Pash, the 1939 medalist.
I'd just like to thank the Tompkins family for the opportunity to win this medal, my coach Grant Doward and the Norwood Football Club for the chance to play for Norwood, the trainers and the support staff for getting me out in the field each week, and to my teammates for their encouragement and endeavour throughout the year, and most of all to my parents and family for this continuous support and help throughout the year. Thank you very much.
Look, there have been some great players that have won reserves McGarry medals and gone on to do many better things. But with 19 votes, winning it by 7 from Woodville-West Orange from the Eagles, the winner, Jason King. And Bob Lee will present the Reserves McGarry medal.
I don't think anyone sets out to win a Reserves McGarry medal, but in good consolation for not playing as much league footy as I would like this year. I'd just like to thank my mum and dad, my brother, my girlfriend Tony, and the West Orange Football Club. Thank you.
Good on you, Jason. Yes, good on you indeed. There have been many fine players who have taken Reserves McGarry medals and gone on to do some great things in the game. Now, before we go back to the first semi-final, I'll just show you a goal that was the first goal of the last term. But be careful, watch out for a goal or a point. This is Donald Dickey. It was the 3-minute mark of the last term. and he snapped. Now watch the reaction of Dickey. He knows that it's not a goal, but that guy in white seems to think it is. And Donald Dickey, well, he's not only surprised, he's pretty happy. Watch carefully. And there's the ball, and there's the post. And it looks to me as though it goes all the way past the outside. Didn't matter much, though, because Norwood rattled home. They did pretty well, of course, with the breeze. But it wasn't entertaining last term. We pick up the game at the start of the last quarter.
Final quarter of the first semi-final, and the final quarter this year for one of these sides. 1 point the margin at three-quarter time. The Red Legs enjoy a gale-force breeze in this final term. They'll be kicking right of screen. Bailey to McClure was good work. McClure got the hurried kick forward. Into space runs Kluzek. Colville. The Eagles are running it forward. A short one to Neiman. Clean bowled. Daniels through traffic. Did well. Harvey. Bowman, who's played centre-half back today to perfection, has nullified Filippo. Smart over the top of it. Pressure comes from Spear. Pearce to Bailey. Stolen by Cunningham. Now Harvey again. And along the boundary line, it's Giorgio coming back inboard. Cunningham had a fumble. McClure wraps him up. There'll be a bounce.
This game is quite winnable by both sides. This is how desperate the Eagles want it. The kicking, as we said, into about a 5 or 6 goal breeze. But just how desperate do they want to play in the preliminary final next week? Norwood finished the season in second position. They won 15, lost 5, only behind Central on percentage. Now they're playing for their life. If they lose today, they'll have lost 2 finals and bow out ingloriously. But you'd suspect that if you're a betting man with the breeze at their back, they're favourites at this stage of the match.
Certainly they're winning as favourites, 4-10 on. The Eagles at 18-10. And I reckon you get longer odds at the moment if you went down and tried to back the Eagles in, because against this wind it's going to be very tough.
The Eagles can't afford to play how they play the second quarter. They just can't afford to bottle this game up. They have to attack and kick at goals, because just bottling up is just not going to win this game for them.
Dead right, Nails. Reed around the corner, a high ball. Who wants it? Rose sits underneath it. Rogers there. Jarman, who's been quiet. Can he make an impact now? Out to Dickey. One step around the corner. It's coming around. It looks pretty good. It's a goal. Oh, there wasn't much reaction behind the goals. Christensen's saying it was a point.
Free kick. There's a free kick. Is there? No, it's not. The players are standing around. They're absolutely...
The Eagles can't believe it. Nobody behind the goals went up, and the goal umpire, this is Lee Carrieri, has indicated it's a goal.
Oh, no.
Oh, well...
If the Eagles, or Norwood, if the Eagles lose by 5 points, or 4 points, God help me. You wouldn't want to get out of the change rooms alive.
Well, you look at Donald Dickey's face here, and even he is bemused by the whole thing. He is thoroughly bemused. He knows he's disappointed with that.
Oh, no, he walks away. Sorry, I've missed the goal. Turns around.
And then when the umpire put 2 fingers up, he has a big laugh. So I think that tells the story, boys.
It's back live. McIntosh with the free kick. Well, you'd hate a final to be decided by that. Let's hope at the end of this quarter there's more than that in it, just for the sake of the integrity of the game. Spear at half-back. Now that kills a goal umpire. His finals aspirations, if that's true, if they have a look at that back, are out the door, and that's a sadness, because they work so hard through the year. One mistake, can't it cost you? Wiedemann through, crashing through Clements, cleaned up by Kluzek.
Come on.
Well, when you take them on and you don't get rid of the ball, that's a free.
Took him on, raised his arm to take the Eagles player out, to fend him off. Just watch this. Comes up, thank you, across the chops, and gets caught a second time. In my call, that'd be holding the football. A couple of bad decisions we've seen in the second half. 2 or 3 now. At least 4 decisions have been bad.
Dillon gets a quick kick forward. Oh, Cunningham, great mark. Had an arm locked up with an opponent, but watch this. Great control. And just plucked it in, despite the pressure of James McClure. Forward it goes, not quite for Miller. Spear. Interesting to see how the Eagles react now after all of that. Will it lift them, or will it just take the wind out of the sails? We'll find out very shortly. David Mackay gesturing alongside that perhaps it will take the wind out.
Oh, it can. Look, things like that, you just can't believe you've battled all day and suddenly something like that happens, it just can throw you out completely. Very hard to regain your composure. Your job against the Breeze is hard enough as it is. As Bailey flicks it out, Cunningham, he's been special today. Jars around the corner, what can he do with it? It's wide and it's out of play. We're 20 metres around for the Redlegs goals. We're 4.5 minutes in to the final term of the first semi-final, and it's the Redlegs leading by 5 points.
Sam Smart and Doug Bailey. They lock arms as well, and Pays finds the boundary line. Well, you're right, Niles. They don't need that. They need some spaces. They need to run it and share it and get a score.
Plenty of desperation, plenty of leg speed, plenty of really just get head over the ball and run it out. Run it as hard as you can. Just run in numbers. Do your first effort, look for your second effort, look for the third effort. You're just going to have to take a big punt this Eagles side.
Off the ground goes Jarman for his second. Well, doesn't that crack the game open? The flamboyant one gets his second for the day at the same end. And Norwood, a bit of breathing space, 7-4 to 5-5.
Well, Andrew Jarman, he's clever. He is dangerous around those goals. You can see here, McIntosh did all the hard work. Jarman just slipped his little left foot in there. He knew it was through. Raised his arms in the air. We see that happen numerous times throughout the season. He's a happy man.
A blowout, 11 points. The biggest margin was 18 points at half-time. The Redlegs enjoyed that lead. And the Eagles pegged them back to lead by a point at three-quarter time. And now, in the space of 6 minutes, the Redlegs have kicked 2 goals and they've opened this up. Peter Rowe, I think, would be sitting back contemplating now, next week, as Rowe steals it out of the middle. Are a side of great character, the Redlegs. They didn't show it last week and it hurt them, but they're showing it today. Cunningham on the left, centres it up, squares it up. Jars is there again. Will it sit for him? Sheldrick did well. Handballs out to Colville, who needs support. Gets it from Pesh. Further out is Christensen, working hard. Goes long and wide. Now there's a hold there. Kluzek held Bowman, and the umpire was right on the spot. Jimmy Pfeiffer didn't miss it at all.
Bowman's kick now. Carries about 50, maybe even a little more. Dillon. Jarman tried to poke it out. Now watch for Harvey around the body. That's not a bad sort of a try at it. Just missed. Well, Ken Sheldon, he gave it every good chance down there, didn't he?
He did. Harvey, Giorgio, Cunningham, Jarman. The Norwood on-ball contingent has really lifted, and Bowman is just a rock of Gibraltar at centre-half back.
Great credit, DB, to Bowman today, because he's been on a fair player in Michael Philippou, but he's held up very nicely.
11 kicks, 5 handballs to Bowman. Philippou, on the other hand, 4 and 2. Well held, considering his impact on the game last week, where he was quite terrific, Philippou. Rod just goes wide to Sheldrick. And you've just got to suggest that from here, the Redlegs will come home.
Having said that, Bowman's now got Kluzek. And I'm looking around and I can't see Michael Philippou just at the minute, so they've got Morford at full forward and some troubles, as you say.
This wind really hasn't eased up throughout this game. It's made conditions very uncomfortable for the players. They just haven't been able to there. But we're just looking at Scotty Morford. Still only had the 1 kick for the afternoon, Stephen. He's had 4 handballs.
Well, he said a couple of weeks ago, David, that if he didn't get 4 or 5 or contribute that he hasn't done his job, so he'd be disappointed with today. Watch for Jarman, head of the square, stuff to Cunningham.
Wasn't that special? That was just so clever. Not many players can do that.
There's not too many players, David, with that sort of vision on a game. Look at this. Didn't worry about his left leg, which a normal player would have gone for. He thought, well, what the hell, I'll do a check side if you see Cunningham coming. He should kick this. He does.
A boomerang kick off the outstep by Andrew Jarman sets it up for Cunningham to get his second, and that is just something special you take away from a game.
Yes, it's been mooted this week that yes, he will continue his AFL career, possibly with Collingwood, one of those sort of sides over there. Collingwood have really shown an interest with play like that. He definitely has got a future in AFL.
Michael Philippou sitting in on the bench. Had a tough day as the runner comes back, sits himself down, back in the centre. 8-5 to 5-5. And nearly 10 minutes gone. Keep in mind that last week the Eagles booted 11 goals in the last quarter of the elimination final. And the way this is shaping up, they'll have it kicked against them because Norwood are on a bit of a roll. Wiedemann, forward he goes, bursting his way out was Bassett. Wasn't that a magnificent piece of play? And then kicks it all of 70 metres. Doing well was Harvey, a tough one to control. It would have been literally coming down like a bomb. And he held onto it okay.
That great work down by Bassett. He only had eyes for the football. He was on take on any player that was in front of him. Came through like a steam train, and just not one Eagles player stood in his way to upsetting. But good work by the big number 1 and Nathan Bassett.
Kenny Sheldon, James Tyson's coming on. Any idea of who's coming off?
Yes, Ashley Reid looks like the player being taken from the ground. He started the last quarter, as he did in the second, in the full forward line with Big Miller and Jarman. So Tyson, a goal-kicking opportunist, it will be a good move.
Fair enough. Loose ball. Miller. You're dead right, Ken. You're not a bad judge. Reid comes off. Sheldrick. Back door. McClure. Spears it away. It was Pearce, correction. Looking for McClure. Now Tyson taken high. He'll play on. Puts it to the point of the square. Oh, it's coming around. Not quite enough. It's a point.
With respect, Ken Sheldon down there, it's not a bad get, is it, when you're sitting alongside the interchange steward to be able to pick up who's going on and who's going off?
Best thing in the house.
So Christensen's going to bring it back on. Sitting alongside the reserve umpire down there too is Kenneth. I bet he's getting into it and chewing an ear or two down there. Boundary line far side. Norwood are 8-6. The Eagles are 5-5. What's the maths on that? 19 points the difference. And 11 minutes have gone.
I suppose we should have asked Kenny Sheldon about what the Eagles could do. From here, Kenny, you still with us?
Well, the only thing they can do, David, is line up your Grinick and these type of players with absolute explosive pace and just try and get the ball over the top to them. If it rebounds, Norwood will goal, but it's the only way, the only chance is to try and get the overlap and then basically 4 or 5 bounces up the ground, kicking goals into the breeze.
Yes, they've got to run it and use their runners to effect. That was Dickey just spraying one to the right, through for a point. So now 20 points the margin. Almost 12 minutes into the final term. I don't think the Eagles can get home from here. We've got to applaud the Redlegs. They've really toughed it out after really being criticised for their performance last week against Port Adelaide. They've come out today and really just toughed it.
Well, if it works out this way, we will end up with the 3 top sides of the year. Norwood, Central and Port pretty much stood out amongst the other pack. McIntosh ran into some trouble. Got it back to Kelly, who did kick a goal to this end in the second term. To Tyson, across the top. A little wayward, not quite the feel of the game. Jarman brings it back very nicely. Have a look at it. How typical is that pose? Jar gets another one, and Norwood now probably unmistakably into the preliminary final. 9-7, the Eagles are 5-5.
Good work by Tyson, but Jarman just so clever. Look at this. There's a lesson to be learnt there from any kids sitting at home watching this, is just get the ball moving quickly. He took 2 steps, turned on his left leg, 1, 2, 3, taking 3 steps around the corner, front on his boot. That just what makes a class player, be able to get rid of the balls with that sort of pace.
3 goals to the A-jar. The door's ajar. Well and truly for the Redlegs now. He's kicked 2 wonderful goals. Rogers to Hall as we go down to Ken Sheldon on the boundary.
Well, I was just going to add, at 3/4 time, it was interesting to hear Peter Rhodes address. He stressed that Jarman was to be down in the goal front. He could kick the goals. He also stressed that they had to use the usable player and be patient. And Macca's comment to the group was, don't be timid, go in hard.
Yeah, I think they've done that pretty well. They've followed instructions. Thanks for that, Ken Sheldon. Down on the boundary. Davey to Giorgio. Around the corner. Smart was the target. Too long for him. It missed Jarman as well. And it's out of play.
Eagles player coming off, obviously, as Ben Higgins prepares to come on. Mark Nayley wrote in the press this morning that you were confronted by Wayne Johnston, the dominator, on the Thursday night, who demanded an effort. And when you've got someone like McIntosh demanding an effort, you don't say no, do you?
Players like a Wayne Johnston or even a Gary McIntosh, I would love to have been or played alongside of Gary McIntosh for a season. He really does inspire his teammates around him to great things. And you can see this afternoon, he really has played a valuable game. He really has led by example, played a good captain's game of football.
Morfitt finds Pays. Good running by Andrew Pays. He knows the ticket here. He was the one who got it to Morfitt. 11 possessions. This is his 12th. 10 kicks and 2 handballs for him. Jerry Dan Tokyo. He's played very well at half-back.
Ball off, Higgins on. As Dan Tokyo just redistributes it to Bowman. Now, you've got to say their confidence is pretty high now. Across the face of goal, Bassett. Now, that's a 30-metre handball. Not bad, is it? Davey on the left. Target was Tyson. Clements is there. Tyson just paddles it forward and runs on nicely. Neiman can't get there with enough pace to make a contest of it. Spear crashed through. McClure now feeds to Wiedemann. And around the corner goes the Wiedemann. It sits up in the breeze. Ugrinic was swamped. Davey was there. And Clements unable to keep it in play. 15 minutes gone. 61 plays 35. The Redlegs, I think, fellas, are home.
Well, halfway through the game, halfway through the last quarter here, really has been Norwood's midfield players a game. You can just see the ball thrown in. It's gone 20 metres
Sideways.
to the southern end, to the sideways.
Wiedemann and Smart. And Wiedemann follows up, but it's a dead ball. And well out of contention at the moment. 26 points the difference. Norwood in command. And what it means, lads, is that we're going to end up with a first-year coach in the SANFL winning the premiership, because there's only 3 left with Bruce Winter's departure. Peter Rhodes, Stephen Wright or Stephen Williams. So one of them in their first year is going to get a flag.
It's only been done 4 times since the war, Triggy.
10 times overall. So
10 times since the turn of the century. Correct weight.
So it is a feat in itself. And Bruce Winter was the only one who could have stood in the way. But Bruce is going to be thinking about pre-season training shortly. Neiman can't get a decisive knock on it, and Pays goes across the line.
Should also point out that I owe that stat to Ashley Porter from Footy Plus. We should thank him for that little gem.
Boundary throw in. Again, it's Neiman. He's got some bulk, hasn't he? Slapped forward by Clements. Tyson's in there. Hasn't been clean yet, Tyson. It's tough to come on late in the game like this and try and make something happen that is decisive. Watch for Macca, though, speaking of that sort of quality. Hits it, but misses. So Norwood go to 9-8. The Eagles are 5-5.
Wiedemann or McIntosh, the honours out of the middle, Nails.
Have to go to McIntosh, and I believe he's coming off at the moment. We see Keating's about to come back on, and Gary McIntosh, he will get a round of applause, maybe even a standing ovation for after this afternoon's effort. But really, Gary McIntosh is at the middle of the duel between the 2 players. He's running the wrong place. Come back here, Gary.
He's not actually moving like a rocket, is he? Quietly, but very influential throughout the day, Macca. Great leadership and a well-deserved rest.
Kluzek recovers. Bowman claims him and scrags him. Bailey plays on quickly. The Eagles are going to fight this out. To be fair, they've done pretty well. They struggled early in the season, put it together through the mid to later part of the year. And you'd suggest that 4th is probably a fair indication as Morph gets his first goal. No, he doesn't. He hits the post. Well, he's kicked 7 and 5 in the last couple of weeks. And today, in fact, today, that's his first score. He's hit the post.
Good running down by Jerry Dan Toshia. Just knew he had to get there, had to get the Morph. Morph didn't accelerate when he could hold that football. Just turned and thought he could have players around him. But Scotty Morford had a day I'm sure he'd like to forget.
This is John Cunningham with his 21st possession. Thumps it towards centre wing. At the back it was Ugrinic. Wiedemann, who'll probably now be claiming that Macca was shifted off him and that he's had a win. Nice to have one for the day, but it's a cold consolation, isn't it? Not that that was the case anyway. I think it's just Macca having a spell. Wiedemann's dispatch was okay. Didn't quite hit the target, though. Zilla. And Godzilla kicks it forward, half smothered. Cunningham, watch this for the torpedo. Tried to get onto it, didn't quite connect, but it's still, with the bounce, has travelled, well, I wouldn't exaggerate, nearly 100 metres. It really travelled some. This is Pearce sweeping his way through the midfield. Chip kicks a shocker. Dan Tokyo cleans it up.
He's cleaned up pretty well today. They're calling him hygiene services. And Jars claims Higgins.
I think we can leave the jokes in the bag this afternoon, so we can see
Jason Kingsley, the 22-year-old, playing his 7th game, replaces Marty Dillon. He hasn't been used all day.
All Marty Dillon's done all day is come off the bench, come on for a little while, for 10, 15 minutes, and come off again.
Ugrinic applies hip and shoulder on Dickey. McClure goes forward. Ugrinik still fights hard for it. Now it's Zilla's turn to feed McClure. They're still running, the Eagles. They haven't given this game up. We're 19.5 minutes into the final term. Christensen run down. What a great effort by Clements. Giorgio through Colville. Feeds. Kelly, who's been pretty tidy today. Jars has really warmed to the task after failing last week. He's kicked 3 today and has got better as the game's gone on. Neiman to Zilla, and short was the Weed, but the kick didn't really hit the target, did it? The Weed in turn has Higgins. What can they do? Can they build and score? No, they can't, because Bassett's in the way.
A couple of somewhat underrated players, aren't they? Bassett and Daniels. They've done a number so far in the final series on their opponents. Forward it goes to Smart, and the bouncing ball eluded him and found the boundary line deep in the forward pocket. 9-8 the Redlegs. The Eagles are 5-6. It's 36 points the difference. They've doubled their score. In fact, it's 26 points the difference, I beg your pardon. Maths was never my good point, Niles.
No, he had spent too much time kicking a footy, Triggy.
Didn't get that right either. Across the line, and Zilla makes sure that there's a boundary throw in once more.
So we'll see next week in the preliminary final, the Redlegs taking on the loser of this afternoon's match between Port Adelaide and Central District. Let's put you right on the line now. Who do you think that'll be?
Game 2 here this afternoon. I've tipped Port Adelaide. I tipped Norwood to win this afternoon by around about 40 points. I'm on target there, between 30 and 40 points. This afternoon, I reckon the Port are just going to be too powerful. They know how to play finals football.
It wasn't an opportunity for you to be gloating about picking. It's a question of Port Adelaide and Central, and I think that Central, if they start well, will do a number on them.
Keating's mark, 15 metres out correction, and the big fella's had a super day, hasn't he? Great day at the office for this fellow. Gets the productivity bonus, no doubt about that. 28 hit-outs. He's only had 1 kick. He's had 8 handballs, but he has won the air. 5 marks too, if you don't mind. And now he adds to all of that with just a nice tidy goal, finishing off the day, and he likes it.
Yeah, big Aaron Keating got moved to full forward when the captain Gary McIntosh went off, but just see uncontested, 3 Eagles players around him. The big fella just takes the grab, goes back. Could have missed this. But just look at that breeze. Look at the breeze in the background. I mean, just shot of those goalposts sometime, but the goalpost and the point post are moving at the moment. That's the force of the wind, which is going down towards the southern goals.
What might be interesting is if the wind changes, as it's primed to do here through the afternoon. Central and Port lining up in the second semi. Could make a difference. 10-8 to 5-6. Norwood will go into another preliminary final, as they did last year when they were beaten by Central. So how much of that history of last year are we seeing unfolded in this final series thus far? Kluzek took off, took a chance and needed to do it as well. His acceleration was good, the kick was good, it was low. It goes across the back to Colville, who gets one in the back. No free kick. A dead ball instead.
I think he was on the way down before Bassett arrived. Sorry, Mark. You're our umpiring guru today.
Gavin Colville had a quiet afternoon.
He's one of your favourites, I know.
He is.
He's earned it, to be fair.
He's only 15 possessions for the afternoon. Hasn't kicked a goal, hasn't kicked a behind. So not one of his better efforts.
Here he is. He hands it across the top to McClure, who tries to bend it around the body. Bassett has played very well.
Yes, indeed. 14 kicks, 3 handballs, 5 marks. Been a dominant player in the defensive zone. Tyson working hard. He's fighting for a place in next week's preliminary final. I think he might get there the way he's gone. So will Rowe, even though he hasn't been fit. This fellow's pretty tidy too, Davey. I like the way he's gone about his game. Just nothing spectacular does it all, so tidy.
For the statistically minded, the stats buffs out there, this is the 30th time that Norwood have played in a first semi-final. And they will have today added to the wins by 1, so they will have won 13 of them, lost 16 and drawn 1. And the Eagles, just out of interest, have played in 1 and lost it.
Well, now 2 and lost it, you'd suggest. Jars, hit high, yep. Well, he's got 3. He'll finish off with 4, because from here, he's a real dead-eye dick.
I think you knew it was coming, don't you?
And just played for it. It's called, I've got an easy one. Head down, free kick. You could make that into a Music Man song, I suppose.
You'd always wear one for a goal, wouldn't you?
Every time.
Yes, just 11 kicks this afternoon. He's had a fair effort, 3 goals on the board, as David Mackay just mentioned. But he is a performer. He does entertain. He loves it. Loves the crowd.
And if he ends up with 4, he will have certainly done his job from half forward or a forward pocket.
And the clap behind the goals.
That's it. 4 for Jars.
3
and 11 for Norwood.
That's his 3rd goal this quarter as Andrew Jarman. He really has been the difference this last 25 minutes of football. He's been moved into the middle. He's been moved up forward. He's kicked a few goals from that position before throughout his career. I'm sure he will kick a few more before he retires.
I was waiting for the Andrew Jarman dance. So 11-8 to 5-6. Good night, the Eagles. They've been valiant competitors this year. As Jars out of the centre with a flourish finishes off, and the confidence is sky high rising into next week's game. Keating fights hard for a Kingsley. Applied enough pressure. Cunningham flicks it out the back door. McClure steals it away. Run down by Clements, and it sits beautifully, didn't it, for Harvey, who can kick for goal from 55. Now we might look to Jar's stats in the last quarter, and he's had 6 kicks, 2 handballs. Pretty tidy, right when they needed him.
It's Todd Davey, who's worn one on the cheek today. 56 games for him, and a former Eagle himself, so he'll enjoy it today. No end.
AFL player, Steve, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think he's... I'd be surprised if he was drafted anyway, put it that way. McClure, Pearce. Pearce flees the scene, does okay, and then dribbles it towards the far side, looking for the boundary line. Giorgio can't get there in time.
The only reason I asked that question about Davey, I spoke to a couple of my people out at Norwood. I reckon if they were taking one player, he'd be one of the first. And now that's a big rap because they're pretty acidic out at Norwood. They don't like really giving too much away, but they reckon that he's the player that's worked tirelessly. He's done everything right. His disposal is good. There he is. And they reckon his courage is unquestioned. In fact, they reckon that his courage is perhaps a problem. He's got too much of it.
Bounce down just inside the 50-metre line. Christensen. Tough in these closing stages, isn't it, for sides that know that they're going to bow out. He stores on the far side. Needs to put it into the centre corridor. Good kick. A great kick right up towards the pressure zone. And Sam Smart nearly completed the mark. You know, that was a throw, I reckon, from Spear. Again, Christensen getting some late possessions deep in the defensive zone. Miller, Rogers, Giorgio. A little uncertain of where he should be going with it. And Wiedemann won't allow Tyson to go anywhere.
There's Brucey Winter. Season 1996 is all but over. He'll ponder his future, I'm sure, over the summer months. What can he do to get this Eagles side into the grand final next year? He needs some players. There's no doubt about that.
Harvey around the corner. It sits wide out of bounds on the full. Just back to Bruce Winter. I think when he sits down and takes the emotion out of today, there he is. I think you'll realise that he's really extracted the most out of this Eagles squad. I think 4th position is probably a great effort. You know, you look at Glenelg and you look at perhaps West Adelaide and others. I think he's had about similar squads and he's done a very good job with what he's had. I think you're right. They just need 2 or 3 players next year to build on it. I don't think they'll lose too many this year. It makes them a force next year with a bit of luck. There's Tyson. Goes through half forward. Oh, big fly. Was Pearce. Brings it down. Out to Ugrinnick. Spears one away, but it's a real nest of redlegs. As Lachlan Bowman, one of their better players today. He's been tough at centre half back. Flies it up towards half forward. Oh, Bassett, what a stretch. What a good, honest jump.
What courage, more important.
Great courage. Ugrinnick to Pesh and Rogers, the skipper. Well, let's hope for the Eagles' sake he plays on next year because they really need his guiding hand in this side.
Smooth, isn't he, Andrew Rogers? Like a little throw from Davey. Now Pays. If he can just get a clear take of it, he'll be okay. Oh, great tackle put on by Bowman. Dan Tokia and Davey. Wheels around, gets on a straight line, goes within about 50. Miller, the competition is still good from him. Handball off. Giorgio should handball one more to Cunningham. Well, he should have, and he's going to get a free kick in the end, but I thought his option to take the kick was poor, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Cunningham had the right to be disappointed that the handball didn't come, Mark.
Yes, David, you're right. He was running in, had the support alongside of him. It's a thing you try to instill into your players, is just to share the football around. In that instance, he didn't share it. Giorgio today, he's had a good afternoon. 25 possessions all up, kicked a goal already. And that goal was in the second quarter.
As we said earlier, he came in for some criticism during the week for his outing against Port Adelaide last week.
Responded this afternoon with 25 possessions, 1 goal. This could bring up his second for the afternoon.
So we have 26 possessions and a couple of goals. And you run and chase and do the hard work. You've had a good day.
He's had 4.5 seasons of league footy. You forget he's only 20.
So after the siren, Tony Lockett, eat your heart out. This one isn't so important, though. Giorgio gets his second. And Norwood finally are emphatic winners in this first semi-final over the Eagles. The Eagles are going off and having a think about pre-season training. Norwood are into the loser of the Port Central game this afternoon, the preliminary final next week. In the end, it was a convincing win for the Norwood side with a margin of 44 points, 12-8 to 5-6. For the Eagles, they can start thinking about that pre-season training. For Norwood, well, it's a pretty emphatic win for them, and they go on again to play in a preliminary final next week against the loser of this second semi-final between Central District and Port Adelaide. The goal scorers, Jarman got into business, 3 in the last term for old Jars. He did very well. The runners did okay too, didn't they? Giorgio, Cunningham, Dickey, and from backward of centre, Richard Kelly got one as well. The stats, well, Norwood dominated them in terms of the kicks. They were certainly better in the air. They had more in terms of using the handballs. They had a few more free kicks. And in terms of the hit-outs, they doubled what the Eagles could manage, so they did very, very well.